Here I am, as usual, to try to pass on some useful information to any of my listeners and viewers and fans or anything you want to call yourself, subscribers. I try to be useful. I try to have wisdom, some knowledge, and bestow that unto you, and for free. So here's one piece of advice I'll give that I just learned about from research I did utilizing AI and car dealerships and learning about auto mechanics and things like that. Since I've been around, I have family that works on auto shops. I have a cousin that owns an auto shop. He's probably a millionaire. I'm not 100% sure. But he has a shitload of money. And I have another family member that is a manager at an auto shop. He makes a shitload of money. And he's been making a shitload of money for a very long time. So you can work your way up, but here's the two main jobs that you could get for veterans or civilians. Like for veterans, it's they have veterans preference. So CarMax, and I mentioned this in one of my previous videos, but CarMax especially has part-time, right? You do part-time, obviously you're gonna make a whole lot more money, and it's more secure if you work full-time because you'll get more sales. The more sales you get, the less likely you are to get fired. So it's not like a cush job. You are pressured to sell. If you don't make enough sales, like at least 12 sales a month, you got to make 15 sales a month at least, and it's to be in the safe zone. And if you're making like 5 sales, 10 sales, whatever, they can let you go. Performance based, you're not selling enough, so they're not going to pay you, because they pay you a wage like 20 bucks an hour plus commission. So they're not going to pay you all that unless you're generating sales. And they'll put you on probation. You could get maybe reapply in 6 months or a year, whatever. But it might be hard to find another job. You can work at other dealerships. But if you're a badass car salesman, you have a good personality. You learn quick about cars. You can say, hey, this is in stock, low miles. It's very reliable. You don't have to know that much. You don't have to know all the engine stuff. Just be like, hey, it's got AC. It's got Bluetooth. It's got all these features. Your seats warm up. Just know your car. Study it real quick. Tell your customers. And main thing is taking them for a test drive. Once they go for a test drive, they like it. Hey, do you like the feel? How do you like the price? Does this fit in your budget? Is it family friendly? Is it enough room for your kids, your family? Is it safety features? Enough trunk space, all that stuff. Just kind of basic stuff. Yeah, and you learn more throughout the years, right? And if you're selling cars, you're making 20 sales a month, you're a top performer, you can make 100 grand a year, 100K a year, in your first 1 or 2 years. And so this is according to AI research, this is according to Google, this is according to, and just look at CarMax. And obviously starting off, you might make 50 grand a year, 50 grand a year. That's like realistic, right? But if you start earning more commission, getting more hours, getting more sales, you're going to have to work 55 hours a week. More than 40 hours a week. You're gonna have to work weekends, sometimes evenings. But if you don't care about money, if you don't care about supporting your family, you just want a whatever job, maybe it's not for you. But if you're a go-getter hustler, like if you have determination to provide for your family, if you're done with the drug life, if you're done fucking around with fucking drug dealers and all these petty fucking criminals that aren't going anywhere with their lives, if you just want to get your face tatted up with gangster shit and fucking spend all your money on guns that you're just gonna probably shoot an innocent person with, or some stupid shit, do a robbery, some bullshit, become a car salesman, a car saleswoman, whatever, make a shitload of money the legitimate way. That's what all the rappers you listen to, these rappers, Dre, Jay-Z, Drake, whatever the fuck, Tupac, all these motherfuckers, were they really gangster? I don't know. Probably not. They paid their taxes. They made music. They had to make the videos. They had to edit it. There's bloopers. They had to market it. They had to do all these business deals, get a business bank account. They had to get a manager. They had to, edit their stuff for, like, I guess, appropriateness, censorship, and all that kind of stuff. They had a business mindset, and they had to pay their taxes to the government. If they were so gangster, would they pay their taxes to the government? No, they'd keep it. All these wannabe rappers, all these actual rappers that were mainstream, they paid their taxes. So it's like, they got out of the game, right? If you want to make it off the streets, this is how you make it off the streets, right? And if you're even a woman can be a car saleswoman, but a man, if you have the energy and the strength and you can lift 50 pounds, every so often, and you got a good heart, a strong heart, you can work, get some cardiovascular fitness 8 hours a day, because when you're working in an auto shop, if you're an auto mechanic at CarMax, they will train you. CarMax will train you as an auto mechanic, and you could become a master technician, a master tech mechanic at CarMax. They will train you. It only takes 2 to 3 years, like 3 or 4 years max. And so with about 3 years, right, you work your ass off, you study for the exams, they'll train you, help you, and they'll reimburse you and all these kinds of programs that they have going on. And you'll be making 80 to 100 grand a year at least, right? Once you become senior, in 5 to 7, 10 years, you're gonna be making a whole lot more money. Opportunities will explode. CarMax, you're dealing with all sorts of cars, all sorts of makes and models, and they're all used, right? And so you're going to be working on all sorts of different cars. Now, and then if you want to specialize, you can work at a Mercedes dealership, Porsche dealership, whatever, Rolls Royce, whatever, any kind of dealership that you can specialize in, that of, that you have experience from. CarMax will be the stepping stone. CarMax will be your first, get your foot in the door, your first job. So CarMax is badass. I really wish I could do it. I have health conditions, and then like physical and mental, but the car salesman, like I don't know, it's like, for me, I go through a lot of things, and I'm not the most, I guess, people person, auto mechanic stuff, lifting heavy things. I'll probably die. I'll die within 5 years. Like I'll have health complications or whatever, like, and plus I'm forced by the government to take psychiatric medication. I'm court-ordered by the state of Texas to take psychiatric drugs that really messed me up. I mean, it's 5 in the morning. Not too many businesses are open at 5 in the morning. I'm at Starbucks. I'm getting a drink. They're open at 4:30 a.m. on the weekdays. But not too many companies. It's like, where can I work? I'm up at midnight. I've been up all fucking night. From midnight, 10 p.m. last night. I got some, I'm probably going to sleep all day, and I sleep all day. So there's not too many graveyard shifts from, Walmart. They don't do graveyard shift anymore, I don't believe, unless maybe stalkers, whatever. I really gotta look into like what I could do. But really, to be honest, I gotta stick with bookkeeping. That's my niche. I'm focusing on real estate, trying to figure out how to house hack, make money with it, and also specialize in taxes, specializing in doing tax returns, individual and business tax returns. Specifically for real estate investors, landlords, property managers, right? And that's a lucrative field. Anyone that wants to get into that takes a lot of mental intellectual aptitude and effort, right? It's not going to be easy, and it's going to take me a while. It could take me a couple years, 1 or 2 years, to really start getting going on that. But I have a couple clients already. So I've proven the concept. I've made a little bit of money, and it just takes some time. And for some people, they work faster. Some people on the internet, 18 months, they got 50 clients or something like that. Some other people got 80 something clients, but and they're making 30, 40 grand a month. And it's out there, right? There's a high demand for everything. Here's another job. If you're incredibly intelligent, this is for you have to be extremely smart, right? And a really good memory, really good problem solving skills, very incredible cognition. I'd say one of the best way to get your foot in the door to information technology would be not cybersecurity, but AWS, right? Amazon Web Services is the pioneer in cloud computing. Become a network engineer. You're going to see all these programs. They want to charge you $10,000, $20,000 for a network engineer, training, certificate, certificate of completion, all this training it won't give you exactly what you need. You need to specialize. You could take all these training programs, read all these books, but it's vendor neutral. It's general. That vendor neutral means it's not vendor specific. It's not specific to Azure, IBM, Google Cloud, or AWS. You need to specialize, right? I started studying Azure for a bit. That was interesting, but AWS is probably the way to go. IBM, mission critical, government, okay, all this different stuff, maybe like critical infrastructure and different things. But AWS, a lot of businesses will still use them, And they have the best training, right? As the pioneer in cloud computing, they're going to have the best training. It's most affordable. You pay maybe like 30-40 bucks, whatever it is, for a subscription. I think it's like, maybe it could be 450 bucks a year, which isn't too, I think it's like 30 bucks a month or something like that. So that's not too bad. You could knock out this training in less than a year. Okay. So AI says maybe a few months, get the first certificate. You need 2 or 3 certificates to get from beginner to intermediate to advanced, right? And it takes maybe a week to get your first certificate. Not a week, a month, then about 2 months to get your intermediate certificate, then about 3 to 6 months to get your advanced expert certificate. So total about 9 months, right? And so learn about this, how to become, just Google it, use AI. How do I become a network engineer with AWS? And where do I get the training? They have like a skills bridge, training platform that gives you labs, a virtual lab environment, from my understanding, where you can practice, right? And it's going to be a lot more affordable. Azure doesn't have that. That's why I didn't excel at that, because it didn't give me the training that I needed. It's just Azure had a bunch of reading material, but AWS, that's gonna, apparently from the research I did, it's gonna be a lot better. It's gonna have lab training, more affordable pricing, and there's a whole, the job market, the economy is, there's a lot more opportunity with AWS as a network engineer. I'm not saying it's going to be easy. It's going to be very difficult. That's why I said you have to be extremely intelligent. You have to have a very good memory. You can't forget any of the stuff you're learning. You have to know exactly what you're doing. TCP, IP protocol, all these different, like, I guess Amazon uses what's called buckets. You got to understand like routing. It's like they all kind of like intertwine. Azure, AWS, Google, IBM, they kind of have similar technology. They have cybersecurity, they have networking, and they have different names, right? Different names for the tools they use, right? So, one of the things like in Azure is Azure Express Route. I believe Azure Express Route. I believe that's where they could give you a direct connection, a private connection, but they're gonna dig a wire. They're gonna dig cables to the company or the building, and they got to do that from, they tap into this network, and they give you a direct connection. So it's like, it's offline. It's on a private connection, so it's not really connected to the open internet, so it's a lot more secure that way. And I'm sure AWS does something similar, but it's not called Azure Express Route. It's going to be called something else. You have to learn what that is. You have to learn how it works. You have to learn how to, effectively implement that. And, there's all these different things. Like Azure also has what's called, it's called Autopilot, I think. Autopilot, and there's another one where they like issue laptops to you, and if you're a company or a hospital or whatever, they'll issue all your equipment to you, preloaded, pre-configured bunch of laptops for you, set it up for you, and then that way it's easier to set up in the network. And I believe that's Autopilot or something like that. But IBM is going to be different, AWS is going to be different, if they have it at all. So all these technologies, if you master multiple clouds, you'll be extremely, incredibly useful and valuable. You'll be a rare, valuable gem and asset to a lot of companies out there, right? And as you gain experience, you'll learn these things, and they'll become easy for you. But AWS, I should have started a long time ago. I wish that the schools that I went to made me specialize, because I would have been an expert by now. And as an AWS network engineer, you can make $100 or $200 grand a year. I think on average, probably like maybe 130 to 135 grand a year, something like that. Starting off, you might probably starting off 100 grand a year, but once you become senior, right, you gain a few years experience, you'll be getting up in those higher tiers, right? So I have a family member that does network engineering, and they're very educated, they're very intelligent, they're very well off, right? If you're a drug addict, and my channel is mainly for recovery coaching, that will be the most difficult thing you ever do. You'd have to give up drugs. You can never do them again. You have to study, you have to focus, you have to dedicate yourself, immerse yourself. Now for me, I've lost loved ones. I've lost people close to me. I've seen bad things happen to good people. And sometimes you have to bury yourself in your work. You have to become a workaholic. You have to study your ass off. You can't let your depression get the best of you. You can't let your stress or anything, or your trauma or any of that, your sadness or anything, get the best of you, because you want to turn to drugs, you want to turn to alcohol, you want to feel better, and you miss that person. It could be your child. It could be your child or your spouse or your brother or your sister, right, from fentanyl or drugs or gun violence or whatever. And you can't let them down. You have to push harder. You have to push yourself to your limits. You have to keep going for them, because it's what they would want. It's what they would want for you. They don't want to see you drown yourself in your sorrows and your misery, and just let this alcohol steal your health away, or let these drugs steal your health away. That's not what they would want, right? So bury yourself in your work if you have to, until you finally become successful, to where you could just be proud and know that they're proud of you. And you've accomplished the best thing you could have for them and for yourself, and for your family. Now you can support your family. So those are a few jobs, right? AWS, right? That's the one I would specialize in. Amazon Web Services. And just Google, use AI, use Grok, use any AI model. Use Google AI to figure out, ask it, how do I get training for AWS network engineer, right? I think it's SkillsBridge, I believe. And I was gonna go through it myself, but I'm doing bookkeeping, I'm doing taxes, and that's just a little less stressful for me, right? Cybersecurity, it is like a 9-to-5 job. You're gonna have a 9-to-5 job. I need the flexible route. I need to work in the middle of the night or during the day or whenever I'm awake, because I can't really control that. My meds kind of mess me up. I just fall asleep whenever I'm tired, and I'm awake whenever I have energy, and I take naps. It sucks. But if you can work a 9-to-5 job, and if you're smart, become an AWS network engineer. But if you want a flexible schedule, you want to work from home, AWS network engineers also working from home. You could do that remotely. But if you want more flexibility in your schedule, you want to run your own business, it's hard because you have to get clients. It takes a lot longer, right? But I'm a bookkeeper, and I do taxes for real estate specifically. So that's lucrative, and it's hard to get those clients. And maybe you could do other companies. I have a service-based client, and she does knife sharpening here in San Antonio. So you might do start with service-based businesses and help them as well, just to get experience. That's what I did. I wanted experience. But now I'm pivoting, and I'm niching down, and I'm specializing in real estate. And that's hard. That's probably one of the hardest businesses you could get into, because there's depreciation rules, there's repairs versus improvements, there's all these different schedules and forms and all that. There's like how you handle the security deposits, how you handle all these like insurance and all that stuff. There's a lot of things it's not easy. And especially with taxes, it could be complicated. It could be very complex when you deal with multiple like landlords that have like 5 to 20 businesses, or maybe more businesses, or property managers, like an HOA complex or something like that, duplexes, quadplexes, different things like that, right? Multifamily homes, stuff like that. So it's very, like, I have to study as much as I can. I have to get more books. I have to use AI, and just kind of do the best I can. And if I have to at least try it. I'm not saying some people are good at it. I can learn from them. I can reach out to them. I can pay for training, pay for mentorship, find an expert to teach me, coach me, mentor me. That's what I have to do, right? So this stuff, they don't really teach in college, from my understanding. They're not going to teach me how to do bookkeeping specifically for real estate. It's more broad, it's more general. They'll get you maybe certified in QuickBooks, or some accounting software. They might teach you debits and credits, accounting, double entry, bookkeeping, all this good jazz. But, you know, niching down specifically for real estate, that's like the school, cybersecurity schools I went to. They didn't help me niche down in AWS network engineering. That would have been awesome. But instead they gave me broad, general, vendor neutral education, to where most of it was vendor neutral. It was not vendor specific. So we studied a little bit of Azure, but for the most part, you know, it was mostly just kind of broad in general. So college is the same way. College, unless you, well, obviously when you get your bachelor's and master's, you're niche, you're specializing, right? But I'm sure it could be more focused, right? So, you know, I guess those are the main jobs I wanted to talk about. The CarMax is a good company, from my understanding, for veterans if you want to work part-time as a car salesman or a car saleswoman to do something, right? Even obviously women can do that. Men, you know, that obviously if you're not physically capable of being an auto mechanic, you know, car salesman is a good job. But an auto mechanic, becoming a master tech auto mechanic, master technician auto mechanic, CarMax will train you. And it only takes maybe 3-4 years max to become a master technician. And you will be able to work on pretty much any vehicle. They will train you. They will pay for your training. They will pay you while you train. You work for them. They will start paying you. The demand is high. Demand is high for these auto mechanics. You will get a job. All you have to do is show up. Be smart. Don't forget. Don't do drugs. Don't drink so it doesn't rot your brain. And you're gonna know you're gonna know how to work on pretty much any car, right? You gotta change tires. You gotta work on the engine. All this work, so you gotta be kind of strong. And it's just gonna get you in shape. Hey, free gym membership. You don't have to go to the gym. You're getting a workout every single day. And that's what I would do if I could, right? And you're gonna make very good money, 80, 100 grand a year, just starting out probably. And you're gonna work your way up, right? So these are a couple jobs that I wanted to recommend. This is what I would say to any of my friends or family. I know some people in the hospital that I meet, they don't want to work. They're lazy. They're like, oh, I just want to stay out of trouble, do my time. And they just want to live on their disability check and live in a Section 8 apartment. It's like, damn, man, if I could do what you could do, and some of them are smart, they're just lazy. You know, some of them are good with computers and they don't want to get a job in computers. Like, damn, you're so smart, you could. And it's like, you know, some of them are just like, you know, they're in shape, they can make more money. Maybe they don't know about the opportunity, but they just become like an English teacher. They're bilingual, so they could just teach English. And it's easy, you're just sitting there talking. Maybe they don't like physical labor, but for me, I kind of enjoy it, right? I would kind of enjoy that. You know, working on cars, that's kind of a badass job, right? You're making good money, getting a good workout, and you're doing a service to the community. You're putting healthy, reliable, dependable, safe cars on the street, right? So families could take their kids to school. So families could take their kids, you know, places, and they could go to work, you know, safely. So that's the purpose. Just like doctors help people, you know, dentists help people, you know, and lawyers and judges and cops, they provide a service. You know, working on cars, you're providing a service. And that's a very good job, right? You should be proud of that. And so that's just my advice. And, you know, obviously, that's what I would encourage, you know, anyone to just start looking into. Car salesman, car saleswoman, master auto mechanic, and then AWS network engineer. And that's what I'll leave you on. Good luck on your journeys. Obviously, there's a whole ton more of many thousands and tens of thousands of jobs out there, right? I'm just talking about the ones that, you know, I find make very good money, that are more easy to get into, right? If you have the motivation, determination, the drive, the energy, the personality, right? The hustle. Anyone can do anything, right? Anyone can do anything, right? There's mentally handicapped people that in the hospital I see they're still cleaning tables, they're still sweeping floors, they're still getting paid as a janitor. They can do something, right? And imagine yourself, right? You're rotting your brain. If you're intelligent, you're doing drugs, you're drinking. It's like You're bringing yourself down to that mentally handicapped person's level. They would kill to have your intelligence. They'd kill to have your intelligence, and they would do anything to have the intelligence that you have, and you're wasting it away. You're with drinking and doing drugs. It's like damn, you know. It's like, and so they, if they can do, you know, if they could wipe windows, if they could wash windows, if they could wipe down chairs during COVID, sanitize, if they could sweep floors and mop and clean toilets and all that, be a janitor, you know, because they have lower intellectual functioning. There was a janitor at my mother's school. She was intellectually disabled, but she still wanted to work. She knew she had to work. She was still intelligent enough to where she knew she had to be in a relationship. She wanted to have a family, but she was just intellectually disabled. She couldn't, all she could do was be a janitor. She couldn't really build relationships or, you know, have kids or anything. That, so, you know, some of them have a good heart. They have a good heart. It's just their brain wasn't developed properly for whatever reason. And, you know, you have to feel bad for them, and some people don't. But if you have empathy, you know, you should feel, you know, you should feel a little bit of sympathy for them, because they have heart. They have the heart, and some people just don't have the intellect, right? The intellectual functioning. And if you have that, you shouldn't, it's like you don't have the heart. You don't have the heart. You have the mind, you have the brain, you have the intelligence, you just don't have the heart, right? Anyone that does drugs or alcohol, it's like, damn, where's your heart? Where's your heart? You know, it's not in the right place, because you're drinking yourself stupid, you're doing drugs and making yourself mentally handicapped, when you could be out there supporting your family, right? Someone you love, someone you want to protect, someone you care about, people you care about, you know, your significant other, your partner, your boyfriend, girlfriend, wife, husband, you know, your kids, you know, your family, your parents, your brother, your sister. Sometimes there was a tax specialist. I took an H&R Block course. This enrolled agent, he had a sister. This guy made good money, probably about 80 grand a year, and he was very intelligent, but he had to take care of his sister who had Down syndrome, and so he couldn't afford to really have a family of his own and have a wife and kids, because he had to support his sister. He felt it was his duty and obligation to help to support her, because, you know, he made enough money, but just not enough to have a family of his own and support his sister. So he had to choose, you know, start a family and just leave his sister somewhere in some nursing home or psych ward or whatever, or just on the street or something, or look after her, provide for her. He loves her, you know, and they probably live in a family together, you know, with his parents, I think. I don't know the whole situation, but I know that he takes care of her. But so sometimes, you know, you have to think about, well, even your family, even if you're not in a relationship, like if you're not married or have kids, sometimes you have to support your brother, your sister, your cousin, whoever it is, someone you care about. Someone, if they can't, you see them struggling for whatever reason, maybe it's a physical ailment, maybe it's a physical handicap, maybe it's a mental handicap, but, you know, you got to try to help them as best you can, you know, if you're intelligent. But you just got to put your heart in the right place. Make that decision. It might be a hard decision, but if you want to have your own family, your own wife and kids, or husband and kids, you know, then you have to put your heart there. You have to strengthen your heart. And if you have the mindset, get out there and go get it. And, you know, do what you have to as a man or woman. So just be straight, you know, don't do drugs, be straight as an arrow, you know, clean as a whistle, just you know, just have a squeaky record. Is that how you say it? A squeaky clean record, right? And just don't speed, don't do anything play chess. You're gonna make less risky decisions. You know, it's gonna develop the prefrontal cortex in your brain. You're gonna have stronger executive functioning, stronger decision making skills, and you know, you're gonna make better decisions in general, right? In your whole life, right? So get out there, you know, do the right thing, put your heart in the right place, take care of your family, and just keep searching, right? Just like I keep saying, you can apply for 1,000 jobs. If that doesn't work, apply for 1,000 more. But these are just 3 jobs. This is just a few jobs that I was able to discuss, recommend, talk about for a little bit, and just give you these ideas to see what's possible, so you can see what's possible, right? And if you don't know where to look, you don't know where to start, you don't need a college degree for these jobs. But if obviously college is a whole different ballpark, a whole different game, right? A whole different animal. You could do a whole lot with college, a lot. Engineer, doctor, lawyer, all these different things, all these opportunities, right? So you can make a lot of money. But it does take more time. So you gotta look, hey, I could get a car salesman job in a few weeks. My application, they review it, hire me in probably a few days or a few weeks, whatever. Very quick, right? You can start making money fast. Auto mechanic, hey, they'll start training me right away. I'll start making money immediately, fast, right? AWS, okay, it could take 9 months. Got to get some certifications, then apply. It might be difficult because I don't have experience, so that's a little risky. But hey, there's a lot of jobs out there where you can get a job right away, immediately, and start making good money. So just do all your research. This is just some information that I hope you found useful, insightful, that you could build upon and just learn from, and do some more research on, to find exactly what you need to make it, right? And that's what all I wish. I wish that I would make it. I wish that anyone watching my channel would make it. Just be successful, whatever you do, right? Just live the American dream. It could be whatever it is for you, whatever it is in your mind, just live in the American dream. Or if you're in another country, whatever, it is over there. But, house, white picket fence, dog, wife, kids, husband, kids, spouse and kids, just a family, and a couple dogs, and a safe neighborhood, right? A safe community, good neighbors, good schools, send your kids to college, just living the American dream. And just do the best you can, right? We got to have these goals. And that's what I'll say for now. I hope you found this information useful. Stay safe, and as always, take it easy.